Welcome, everybody. And we have a really awesome class here called Preforeclosure Goldmine. First of all, I want to welcome you and also congratulate you for joining us to learn about this topic, right? How do we find the gold? How do we dig the gold in pre-foreclosures? And, maybe some of you are wondering, what does pre-foreclosure even mean? We're going to answer all that. And we also we update our content on a regular basis periodically. And what we have added now is some recent case studies, which I thought is going to add a lot of illustration, right, to kind of show how exactly a deal gets done, along with some illustration of the concepts. And we hope you enjoy it too. So now, without further ado, let's get started. We have quite a lot of content to go over today. So talking about pre-foreclosure, we need to understand foreclosure auctions. So at foreclosure auctions, depending on where you are, it could happen every month, or it could be every week as well, depending on what state you're in. And it allows the bank or tax authorities to auction off properties that are late on payment. And this is, a great place to get deals. You get 50 to 75% off of the market price. We personally know folks that are buying houses at 35 cents to $1, and it's a really, really good deal. If you haven't been to a live auction, I highly encourage you to join one and experience it yourself. It is a big event and a true sight to be seen. And depending on how your county organizes it, some could be online. If it's in person, I think it's a better experience. There could be multiple trustees kind of auctioning off these houses at the same time, so it's kind of like a circus. And things can be pretty chaotic too. And so now, if you are serious about bidding at these auctions, we have a class on foreclosure and the top 10 tips on what you need to know in order to win these bids. And in this case, if you are interested in bidding on the property, you have to find a trustee and make sure you don't miss it when the trustee is auctioning off the property. Now, also, if you are participating in these auctions, you have to be ready to pay on the spot to when you win the bid. And what you need to do is to have a whole bunch of cashier's checks. You kind of need to have that capital in place in order to bid at the foreclosure auctions. It could be a little bit more capital intensive for beginners. And I have a video I'm going to show here just kind of show you what a live auction looks like. And excuse the audio, the low audio volume. Okay, so that's all I had. Now, what was happening is that the lady was announcing a disclaimer before the auction starts. It was loud and it was hard to hear. And people will usually come prepared. You kind of see folks either with their laptop or print out a big spreadsheet. They already did all their homework before they come to the auction. And they already know which property they're going to bid on. And this auction happens at different locations in that kind of area. And so you kind of need to know where to go, where the trustee is, and kind of go to them when it's time to bid. So there are some drawbacks with trying to win a house at foreclosure auction. One is the level of competition, right? You see a crowd of people, and usually that is the case, right? Because who doesn't want to buy a house at 50 cents to $1, 35 cents to $1? You need to be prepared to come with cash or cashier's check. And like I said, it's a little more capital intensive. to for starters to bid at a foreclosure auction. And also you have to buy the house sight unseen. So you want to do a lot of due diligence ahead of time. Like we actually went drive to a house that was going to a foreclosure auction, and it was just a lot. Like there's no house on there anymore. So you're taking on some risk, and you have to know what risk you're taking, and what you need to do to kind of mitigate some of that risk. Like that example with the house not being there anymore. If you end up buying putting on a big bid, right, a lot of money to buy the house, just to realize that there's no house there, you stand to lose quite a bit of money. So just be very mindful, right? And if you find the rehab budget is not what you anticipated, let's say the house is there and it was a big rehab budget, it would be too late to back out of the deal. Okay. So for those reasons, we also like the pre-foreclosures. And what pre-foreclosure is that we are buying the property before they hit the bank foreclosure. Okay, so maybe the seller already, and actually that is the case, that the seller have already received notice that their house is gonna get auctioned off due to lack of payments. And instead of the house going into the foreclosure, we buy it before the foreclosure date and kind of get the entire process stopped and acquire the house. So why do we want pre-foreclosure? Well, there are less competition, right? We are getting way ahead of the game before it gets to the auction. So there are a lot less people that are going to be bidding on the house. And usually you can get pretty good and deep discounts. Now I say that with a caveat. There are some houses where, even if there's a lot of equity, there is enough discount that we can offer to acquire that. Maybe there are some houses that don't have a lot of equity, and so we'll need a different kind of deal structure to purchase it. But that's also a very lucrative deal structure too. It's called subject to. We will talk about how to do that in a more focused class, right? How to structure a deal like that. It's a little more complex, and actually we have a class that we already created on how to structure these type of offers. But anyway, kind of just keep things a little more straightforward, right? You can buy properties at a discount. The seller usually, they have this deadline with the foreclosure date coming up, and they are looking for alternatives. If they have to go into foreclosure, the credit gets dinged for 7 years, not to mention that they're going to lose the house. And so they're looking for that kind of what's a better alternative to losing the house in foreclosure. And so you have a lot of negotiation power as the seller, and you get to, as the buyer, and you get to directly negotiate with the seller. All right, and usually our first appointment, right, it would be to meet the seller. Obviously you can buy a sight unseen and all that. We have done that. I do find it, and in my case study too, I do find it better to build a relationship if we meet the seller in person, right? Really build a relationship. We can also walk the house, come up with a rehab budget, and make sure that our offer accounts for what it takes to rehab the property. Okay, a lot of advantages, right? The bottom line is a lot of advantages for the pre-foreclosures. Now, in just the last 30 days, tons of distressed houses out there, right? The question is not about, okay, I can't find houses that are distressed and discounted, but actually it's about how we can get access to this type of information. You can find lots of houses distress, right, going into pre-foreclosure. And real estate as an asset is not very liquid. And so to find a good deal and buy it under market value, what we have to do is to find folks, sellers that are motivated to sell and cash out very quickly. So these motivated sellers are, because they have so many other problems in their lives, they're not as price sensitive as a retail seller. And that means you have a lot of negotiation power and you can buy the property at a really good price. And in terms of the distress, right? If we just focus on the pre-foreclosures, almost 9,000 of those distress houses are pre-foreclosures. And pre-foreclosures is one of those cases where the seller, right, really needs to sell. They have that deadline on the foreclosure auction date, and it could be in the coming month or the next week. So they're very motivated to sell and kind of minimize the loss. A lot of our investors have made a fortune by really focusing on these pre-foreclosure leads. And this is because there are plenty of these, right? And there are plenty of these every single month that come up. And so with these opportunities, you can also, get your hand on the gold mine, right? The question is, how do we do it? How do we, find these houses and how do we handle them? And we're going to go over that. Okay, so a couple of success stories that we will share here from some of our clients, right? This one is a $46,000 profit. We got another one, $85,000, and another one almost $89,000. Okay, and again, these are success stories. Not all the deals are gonna have such a big profit amount, but I guess some of we know that if we can acquire these houses, we can make some good amount of profits. Okay. And naturally, I hope you're excited about the rest of this class, which is about how to find the deals and how to win the deals, right? How do we make money? So at the end of this webinar, our promise is that you will understand the strategy of how to win these pre-foreclosure deals. These are kind of try and true methods, and like I said, we have case studies as well to kind of further some of the actual scenario of these deals. And this course is for new investors, right? If you're looking for a way to get started, pre-foreclosure is a really good way to get started. It can get you a lot of quick results. And experienced investors, if you have been buying from somebody else, buying from a wholesaler in your deals, and this gives you the opportunity to acquire the property yourself and directly negotiate with the seller and increase your margin a little bit. From an exit strategy standpoint, wholesale, fix and flip, or buy and hold at a big discount. These will all fit. And as a quick reminder, right, if you got distractions right now, maybe take a moment, turn those off, lock the space that you're in, right? So you can take good notes in the next hour or so, and feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself and connect with the folks that are in the same class. I have found that turning off notifications, right, and kind of removing distraction, taking good notes is really crucial to kind of being present and make the best out of our time. Like, we already made the time here, and so if we want to maximize, what we're gonna get out of this hour, let's do our best to pay as much attention as possible. Okay, let's make an effort. And as a disclaimer, right, all the information here presented is for educational purposes only, right? Always do your due diligence when it comes to investments, and we don't offer investment, financial, or legal advice. Okay, only kind of knowledge sharing, experience sharing. Quick quick info about myself. I had more hair back then, and now, I'm an executive partner of Real Estate IQ, and over the years, kind of acquire some expertise in, I think, what's translatable for this course is our marketing experience and the real estate data experience. And my background is in science and engineering, and I was always interested in real estate and the kind of passive income power of real estate. And I actually didn't know back at the time that just kind of by owning a cash flowing, right, money producing real estate asset, over time, a lot of wealth can build on that. And I share some of kind of the wealth building information in our other class on how to make money and build wealth in real estate. The struggle I had, and I still see it today, is that it was difficult to find the right knowledge, right? In how do we do real estate deals? It's a very niche type of knowledge. It was hard to get good information and good technology to help us do it. And then it was also hard to connect with mentors and fellow entrepreneurs, because I think when it comes to doing deals, every case is different. And so I always find myself having tons and tons of questions when we're just getting started. And so that was also a struggle. So that's why we established Real Estate IQ to solve these pain points, right? We offer webinars and classes. We also offer office hours to just kind of give everybody access on the information and also the support we need to do the deals. We have shared the deal finding data. We call it distress seller data. And that's very, very important when it comes to marketing. Or how do we get started? Like we need to start with the deals first. And so these are kind of exclusive type of distress seller leads that we can access and reach out to the owners and kind of generate our leads. And then we also offer a community of experts. Over the years, we have connected with a lot of coaches and mentors that can walk us through how to do deals along the way. So with all that said, let's really dive into the pre-foreclosure and how to do it. Now, the first thing we want to learn and understand is the foreclosure process, right? How does it work? This is going to give us the context that we need to understand when's the right time to do the outreach and all that stuff. So if we understand the foreclosure process, a lot of times we can also add a lot of value to these distressed homeowners, because they are very stressed, right? About, oh man, my house is gonna go into foreclosure. What am I gonna do? Well, this is the process. The typical process is that the borrower, right? Borrower is typically the same person as the homeowner, and they have more than 120 days of delinquent payments. And when that happens, so about 4 months, right? So when that happens, the lender will all order the trustee to send a letter of demand. And when that letter of demand is sent, the borrower has at least 30 days to pay back the delinquent payments. Or a notice of default and an intention to accelerate will get filed. After that 30 days, or after that curing period expires, the lender will file a notice of sale with the county, and this will happen at least 21 days before the next auction. So, as an example, if the notice of sale is filed today, it won't go into next month's foreclosure auction because it's less than 21 days, but it would be happening in the month after. So at least 21 days before the next auction. And then the property gets auctioned at the courthouse steps, between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It could also be online, like I said earlier. And so it will either sold to the highest bidder, or it would go back to the lender or the bank and become an REO. REO stands for real estate owned or bank owned property. Now, that's kind of the main process. A couple of key notes that we should also understand is that, let's say the auction has happened and the house has gone back to the bank or to the highest bidder. If the lender didn't recoup all the money that was on that mortgage, then the lender can still go after the borrower. What they would seek what's called a deficiency judgment on what is not being paid off, so they can continue to go back to the borrower, right, or the homeowner, which is a very bad situation for the homeowner. They lost the house, and now they stand to owe more money to the bank. The foreclosure auction would wipe out all the second liens, right, all the junior liens, but it doesn't eliminate debt. So all those junior lien holders can go after the borrower as well. And then there's federal tax, right, state tax, and other local tax liens. They will survive. And for those that have, let's say they won the bid, they still need to pay for those liens. So a lot of times, for those that are bidding at the auction, part of the due diligence that they do, aside from making sure the house is still there, is to make sure that they do the lien search, right? Do the lien research and make sure that no other liens are on there. That's a clear title. Otherwise, they win the bank lien, right? The lender lien, the mortgage lien, but they still owe other taxes. And you can still, not to say that, like, let's say it owes some tax liens, it may still be a good deal. I would just kind of subtract it from the highest bidding price that we bid on. So kind of the idea is, always do good title research. Okay, so that's kind of the aside, right, on the foreclosure process and some facts about the foreclosures. Okay, so next, let's talk about what properties are going to the foreclosure. Okay, so that's a really important topic. The one thing that you can always do is get a list, right? You can purchase a list, and there's a pre-foreclosure list. These are about to be foreclosed, and market price $200 to $300 a month. A lot of investors really love this list because these distressed sellers are in a very desperate situation. Right? They need to sell fast, and for the pre-foreclosures, you gotta reach these sellers, these owners, before they hit the auction, so you can directly negotiate with them. Through my experience, I find that there is different ways to work the deal, and so the sooner we reach them, the more time we will have to kind of work with them on how to structure a win-win deal, and it's just more advantageous if we can reach them quickly. Another kind of like a pre-foreclosure type of list is called the appointment of substitute trustee. So, we have some savvy clients, and this is something that we created because of their request. What this is, okay, short answer is that this is a list that's before it hits a pre-foreclosure list. And the process of it, right? Remember on the foreclosure process, we talk about the lender will ask a ask the trustee to file some paper, right? Letter of demand and all that. A lot of times, mortgage notes that are owned by a big institution, they don't come to any particular local county to foreclose any property. they would usually appoint a local trustee in that county to process all those paperwork for them. And so when that happens, they would need to first appoint or assign a substitute trustee first. And so by kind of mining this information, we can go, okay, well, a trustee is now being appointed or assigned. That means a lot of times the notice of sale is going to get filed very soon. So that's something that we can do research on and find it. We actually have a very popular class. It's called Secrets of Building an Endless Deal Flow, and kind of talks about how we can build a marketing campaign that builds trust and do outreach. And so having the appointment of substitute trustee kind of extends, our period of time to win trust and do marketing a little bit longer, and we can nurture these distressed sellers, right, as a marketer. Okay, you can find this information by Googling, right? County name, and then go notice of sale. And then what you find, right? Every county is a little bit different, but this is what notice of sale looks like. There's a lot of information here. You get the person's name, and so on and so forth, the address and all that. And you can do further research on when the auction is and the amount owed and all that stuff. Now the amount owed is not public information, so the best we can do, right? So what do we mean by the amount owed? What that means is, well, we know how much the original mortgage note was, but a lot of times we don't know how much has been paid down. So because that's not public information, what we can do is to do some estimate to go, okay, well, if they have been paying down their mortgage over time, this is how much they owe now. And if we know also how much the house is worth, then the difference is the equity, what we call equity. And equity is important because if we want to kind of buy properties, at a steep discount, I usually want to focus on the houses that have already have a lot of equity. They don't owe a lot of money, but and the house is worth a lot. So in a more kind of distressed situation like this, the owner is willing to sell at a big discount just to kind of get out of this foreclosure situation. So what do we do, right? On the motivate seller list, you can find this notice of sale information. It's public information. Usually our advice is, you can do it yourself. I certainly have learned how to do it myself, but it's more important that not to save money, but to learn the process, right? Because it's actually fairly affordable to buy the list. For most people, I would recommend just kind of outsource that. Like, why would we spend many hours every day to kind of capture and mine this data, while our time is best spent in doing the outreach and talking to the seller, right? Data mining doesn't pay us anything. It's the contract, right? Putting the house under contract, and then either selling a contract or acquiring that real estate piece of asset is the reason that we would make money. So, if you're curious, you can learn how it's done, but I truly don't recommend that you consistently do this work. It's a very kind of low value work for an entrepreneur. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to research per record, and then kind of just look at the sheer number of foreclosure filings for each kind of county or metropolitan area. You can see that it just very quickly becomes very overwhelming. And honestly, when I'm mining data myself, I don't want to talk to anybody because I'm just kind of focused on the information, being technical, and I'm not as social. And I think as real estate entrepreneurs, real estate investors, we want to focus more of our time in building trust with the seller and working with them. That's a much better use. So it's also important that we pay attention to the quality of these lists, right? We want to know how frequently it gets updated, right? And we call it the freshness of data, especially for pre-foreclosure because it's so time sensitive. I want it as fresh as possible, right? That's going to give me my first mover advantage. A stale list, which means it's not updated very frequently, is no use to us for the pre-foreclosures at least. You want to understand the extent of the research and the accuracy and all that. And a couple of key elements that we want to look for in a list is that, okay, I don't want to know the borrower information, right? That's mortgager. Mortgager is the borrower information. The mortgagee is the lender, trustee, right? I want to know the address and all that of the property. And then, the stuff on the right is also very important. I want to know the financial information, like the equity and equity percentage. Like I said, this is mainly an estimate, because the unpaid balance is not public knowledge. It's only an estimate. But we would research a lot of this information, and it's kind of something that we can leverage right away, and we can use it as a filter, and then we can focus on just the ones with the type of equity or the type of loans that we want to work with. Okay, so then let's say you get get the list. We want to focus on a more manageable list, so we can filter it down. And a lot of times, the leads are quite expensive, but because we can acquire and we're mining all these data ourselves, and you can get access to these leads at a pretty affordable price. And so because of that, you can afford to kind of really focus on the type of leads that are most valuable for you. A couple of things that people like to filter on is maybe it's the address or the zip code that they want to focus on. It could be the, what's the assessed value or the appraisal value. Sometimes you don't want to go above a particular value, right? You want to focus on a particular sweet spot in terms of the pricing for you. It could be the type of equity. Maybe I want, really steep discount, and I want to focus on a particular type of equity, high equity. Or, the folks that want to do a subject to, maybe they want to have lower equity and just kind of focus on those. And you can also always do that. One thing I do want to mention is that when you have a smaller list, right, where you kind of filter those, now you have more marketing budget to market to each lead. As an example, let's say I have $1,000 a month of marketing budget that I can spend. If I focus on 100 leads, that means for 1,000, I can put $10 to market to each lead, right? So I have for $10 budget, I can do a lot of things. I can text, I can call, I can email, I can even send a few letters, right? Direct mail letters. Because $10, I can do a lot of things. But if I have $1,000 marketing budget and I have 1,000 leads I'm trying to market to, well, I only have $1 per lead. So I know I can't send out a direct mail because that's just one letter that already burns all my budget. And so, just as an example, maybe you want to spend more than $10 per lead, or you want to spend like $20 to market to each lead because you have such a nice filter list. So that's something to kind of pay attention to. And frankly, if I were to spend $20 per lead versus somebody that is spending $1 to market to a lead, I know I'm gonna win out because I'm gonna have much more ways to reach out to the same lead. Right? I hope that makes sense. Marketing is kind of, maybe to kind of make a comment coming back here is that when it comes to marketing budget, right? Marketing is kind of like a war, right? if I have more money to throw at something for a particular lead, I'm going to be more likely to win that lead than someone else that is spending a lot less than me. And so that's a comment I wanted to make. Okay, so let's talk about the marketing campaign, right? How, now we know who they are, right? We have a focus list. What do we need to do next? Well, let's talk about marketing campaign, right? How do we reach out to them? How do we win their trust? So if you enjoy this segment, make sure you take our class on the secrets of building an endless deal flow, right? We really focus on the actual marketing side of how to use our data. Okay, so one very common technique is called door knocking. So you show up at the door, you talk to them in person, and because you get that face-to-face time, you can build trust very quickly. And of course, the effectiveness of your campaign, really depends on the quality of the list, right? You want to make sure that your list and your data is fresh. You want to make sure that you get the information as quickly as possible, and that it's right, it's accurate. And so door knocking is like super sensitive, I think, in terms of making sure you have good data. And let's see, to be successful, you need to have an ability to kind of strike a conversation, right? Be likable very quickly. And you also need to have a thick skin. Some people may just shut their door in your face. We have done that. And a good door knocker would have no problem with rejections. And so if you are, someone that's extroverted, right? You have maybe kind of door knocking experience from from other industries, like this is certainly something that it's going to work out really well for you. We have clients that have really good door knockers, like they have found a lot of success in buying properties, in acquiring these properties. We have an app called dealsnearme.io. That's something that you want to look into. It's in alpha, I think maybe beta phase now. And what it does is that it allows you to look at the app and look at the map and kind of see all the houses that are or have been in foreclosure near you. So you can drive and see the property. You can kind of also drive around that neighborhood and just kind of learn about the neighborhood that are around you. Real estate investment and real estate can be very local. And so that Deals Near Me app really allows you to learn about your neighborhood, drive around, kind of see what a pre-foreclosure house looks like. And also you can obviously use it to plan your door knocking route. And then you can knock on the doors and, introduce yourself as a neighbor if you live in the area. So really cool app that I want to highly recommend you to check it out and learn how to use it and give us some feedback also. Now, of course, door knocking may not be for everybody. I highly recommend that you try and do it, no matter if you're an introvert or extrovert. I think it gives you a lot of kind of learning and context. And by talking to them, you kind of understand how they feel. You can learn how to work with these type of distressed owners. If you're a little more introverted, maybe cold call is a little bit better method. So here we have a script here for you. I'm not gonna read this over, but maybe what you can do is to take a screenshot on the couple of questions that we have. And when you reach them, these would be some of the questions I want to find out is, learning about kind of their situation, what do they want to happen, and then another thing is what kind of condition is the house in, okay, so that we can do the rehab budget, which we're going to go over next. Okay, and then if you can't reach them, here's a voicemail script that you can use. again, you can just take a screenshot here and then practice using it. And then over time, you get so good, you don't need a script anymore. But in the beginning, you probably need a script to kind of get yourself familiar with what needs to be said and get some practice in. And I think my recommendation is that when you are just starting out, for example, just try to make, maybe making phone calls is not what you're used to. Well, just make one call a day. Just start practicing one call a day, and then over time, 5 calls a day. 10 calls a day. Make sure you have one quality conversation. We're kind of getting to a point where we know that if you can make one high quality conversation a day and capture the information you need to kind of move on to the underwriting and making offers, you're gonna get a set number of deals every month. 1 to 3 deals every month. If you get one quality conversation with a seller a day, it doesn't matter if the deal is a good deal or not very good deal, as long as you have a good kind of quality conversation with a distressed seller. Okay. So next, well, we gotta do the outreach, right? Make the connection, and then most of the time we want to listen, right? So we want to be empathetic. We want to have some questions kind of prepared, right? It's kind of like the call scripts that I shared, and let them talk, right? Just remember they are facing a lot of distress, right? The foreclosure may just be one of the things that is not going well in their life. Let them know you're interested in their property. Some people, maybe they don't want to sell, they want to keep the house. My approach is I help them work on solutions of keeping the house too. And if they don't want to sell, that's okay. At least I'm helping somebody. And if they have exhausted all the options and they want to sell, hopefully we have built enough goodwill that they would think of us first. And obviously, if we're out there trying to help somebody, we also feel very good with continuing to do this, right? It kind of feeds our spirit and our soul. So what other things do I want to share here? I think it's important that when we can get in touch, is that we are able to capture the information, say the condition of the house and all that. Why are they selling? How much do they want? And why do they, what's the reason, that's the pricing that they're looking for. And then understanding the condition of the house. Now, of course, if you say you're door knocking, you can actually see the house and its condition right away. So you have a good idea of what that property looks like, what it takes to rehab the property. And if not, you may want to arrange a meeting so you can see the house. So next, I want to just talk a little bit about the funnel and how we set up our stages. Okay. So if I were to set up a CRM, this would be the 10 stages that I would set up. And this would be kind of the different steps of how we handle a lead, right? So at first we have a distressed seller leads, right? That would be, say, the real estate IQ leads I get. I know that they are distressed, but they're cold because they don't know me. They don't know what solutions are available. And they don't want to do business with me yet. So that's stage number 1. And then we'll do outreach, right? So we filter out the list. We'll do the outreach. Excuse me for the allergy. And after we do the outreach, we'll receive a response. Either they say yes or they say no, go away. We leave them alone if they say no. If they say yes, then we can schedule a phone appointment. So in stages 1 and 2, they're cold leads, right? They don't know us. But from 3 and 4, they're warm leads now. And now if we're able to schedule a phone appointment, now we have a hot lead, right? We complete the appointment, we talk to them, we gather the information that we need. Now we have a, right? If we have a quality conversation, now we have a hot lead. And a lot of the cases, we may want to get their mortgage information as well, right? And then that will allow us to do all the underwriting that we need to make an offer. So stages 6 to 9, we put it here. We already got a lot of information. So these are the fire leads. Like they're, if we put in the right offer, right? If they trust us, if we do all the right things, we're gonna win the deal. And then stage 10 is the deal close. They sign the contract. Okay, so I want to kind of share with you this item here to demonstrate, like, okay, so let's say I want 3 deals a month, right? Or 1 deal a month. But let's just do 3, right? You can always divide a number by 3 to get 1 deal a month. Let's say we want to get 3 deals a month. That means that we probably need to have 12 underwriting per month. We need 12 fire leads a month. And 12 per month is 3 a week. So I want 3 fire leads a week. And in order to do that, it's likely that we'll need 6 conversations a week. So we have 6 conversations a week, right? Half of those, we would, get the information and get the mortgage information and all that and do underwriting. So 6 a week is really 1 a day. So if we just focus on having 1 quality conversation every single day, then we would have meet our goal. Now, if we're just starting out, obviously we maybe go like, oh, well, I just need like one deal. I just need 1 deal. I don't need 1 a month. I just need 1 deal. Well, if it's 1 deal a month, I just need 2 conversations per week, or like 8 good conversations. Then I'm gonna be able to yield 1 deal. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, next we're gonna talk about the rehab budget. Okay, rehab budget is its own kind of beast, but there are ways to do that quickly. You can either do it yourself. The suggestion is that you become an expert through practice and find a mentor who can do that for you in the beginning. There are also some quick rule of thumbs that you can use. So if a house is in good shape, we just need some cosmetic. Sometimes if we do $15 per square feet, that's enough buffer to contain some contingencies. Okay, a lot of times what I notice is that when we do the general rule of thumb, we tend to have a little more buffer than kind of pricing each job. But we kind of do want to have some of that buffer just in case there is overrun. So $15 per square feet if it's light rehab. A mid-gray is about $30, and then a high end is about $50. And these numbers could change from time to time, right? The cost could be going up as time goes on. But those are the numbers that we would kind of use as a general rule of thumb. $15, $30, $50. Okay, and then next, we present the offer, we negotiate, and in my experience, I see that a lot of the distressed sellers, as long as we are paying attention to what they're looking for and what they're needing, and we structure the offer in a way that works out for them, a lot of times they will say yes. Maybe they're shopping around for different offers, but as long as we're able to solve their needs and it also works for our numbers, they are gonna say yes. So money is important, but terms is also what wins the deals. And so it's very important about kind of structuring the deal so that it can solve their situation. And so, that's why having some creative financing, we mentioned subject to as an example, some creative financing type of deal structure, if the seller is open to that, can add a lot of flexibility in our offer. And we usually offer several options, cash option and a creative financing option. And when we presented them, there are a couple of choices for them to say yes to instead of like yes or no to an offer. So that's our approach at least. And then if they say yes, we put it in writing. We can have we can use some contract templates that we have. We can use the track contract template and so on and so forth. Okay, then let's say we put it under contract. Then we put it. Then there's maybe if we're gonna acquire, we're gonna need to figure out the funding side. But for sure, we're gonna need to be aware of potential title issues. And here we see it's very important to have relationship with investor-friendly title companies, right? The title companies that knows and understand how it works, how to work with investors. They're proactive in solving title issues. They have in-house real estate attorneys, and they understand owner finance and subject to, and so on and so forth. And then the last thing is closing, right? There will be last minute issues that may come up and that need to be addressed. So if you have a good contract and you already have trust established with the seller, you're gonna go through that final stage quick, kind of smoothly and close the deal. And now you won the deal. All right. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, or join our office hours and ask there. I think that's probably an even better venue. And towards the end of this talk, I'm going to be sharing with you some events that you should be joining. For now, I want to show you this case study. I find it very, very interesting. So this is the Mart deal. This is a deal in the city of Mart. What was interesting and kind of caught my attention was that it was sitting on 20 acres of land, and the land is in the opportunity zone, which is a designated area where if you invest money in the opportunity zone, there's a lot of favorable tax treatments that you can benefit from. So that's what got our attention at first. And the owner comes from pre-foreclosure. He owes about $3,500 in back mortgage, right? So he was behind. Talking to him a little further, he wanted to sell. He bought it. I think about 10 years prior. 10, 12 years prior, and he still owes money. Turns out the mortgage that he has was a very high interest rate. Was 9% or 10%, something like that. And so, but because he held on to the property for a while, the property has increased in value. So he was able to build the equity, even though the mortgage principal amount, the principal loan has not gone up, but because the value has gone up now, he was able to sell some equity. He wanted to sell and then take care of some kind of family situation. The house needed AC replacement, septic, it needs new paint, and so on and so forth. So we had a rehab budget that we created, and then on top of that, he wanted to have 45 days to move out, and he wanted like 240,000, and the mortgage they owe was 105,000. So okay, so we got all the information, right? And what was interesting is that if we also saw some value of the land, the value of the land alone at $9,000 per acre with 20 acres, we're looking at about 180,000. So that kind of made the deal very interesting, because if you want 230 to 240 and the land itself is worth 180, maybe there's some margin there for us. So this is our kind of analysis. The ARV after repair value that we calculated was 365. We do the 70%, right, rule of thumb. 70% of that is 256. The rehab, we estimated $30 per square feet, which is about 41,000. Subtracting that, we came back with 215. So close to his 230, but not quite. He ended up accepting the offer. So we acquired it. What are some dramas? Some drama was prior to closing. Well, number one is the closing date had to get delayed because we had to get financing, and the lender needed more time to complete the appraisal, everything. So closing got delayed. And then for the 45 days of staying back, we structure a lease back in the contract. So we held back some money from the 215 offer, and then we would pay them back. We would charge them rent during those 45 days. Negligible amount of rent, but we set it up so that beyond the initial agreed number of days, the rent gets much higher. So it creates incentive for them to kind of move out, because we need them to move out to start the work. And then we also found that during closing that the seller had other liens against him that he had to agree to kind of negotiate and get paid out before the closing could happen. And all of that needed to happen before the house goes into the foreclosure. So it was quite stressful for the seller. But all said, everything got done. We closed as promised. He didn't lose the house, right? He was able to mitigate his loss and got the equity that he wanted pulled out, right, after selling the house, and kind of use the money for what he wanted. He was so happy, he actually referred another deal to us, and we ended up acquiring that deal also. So let's see. We have some before photos. Okay, you see the tall grass, right? This is the gate that drives in. It's right next to a highway. And I don't think I have the layout of the 20 acres, but it kind of looks like a triangle shape. You drive in through here, this path, and then you get to the front of the house. He has this addition here that he built himself that we ended up tearing off. It was not built to code, and it was too expensive to get it up to code. It was not worth it. The ceiling was quite low, so we didn't think that was worth keeping. These are the photos of the kitchen. We ended up, taking that island out and kind of rebuild the kitchen and relay out the area. And you can see the inside is, pretty dark. And we ended up, repainting that and just kind of open up the floor plan. So you're gonna see more photos. Okay, these are the bathroom. So what we see is, okay, there's quite a lot of equity that we can, it does fit the rule of thumb, and so it was worth acquiring. And also the upside is that it has 20 acres of land in the opportunity zone, so we have more potential of doing something with it. So this is one of the bedrooms. There are 3 bedrooms for this house. Okay, and this is phase 0 Tamla, my partner, also my mentor here for flips and also for investments, says the most you see a lot of things happen in the beginning of project phase when you rip everything out, and then a lot of little things, and then you're gonna see the kind of complete makeover. So this is kind of the phase of a lot of things getting ripped out. I think she calls it a demo phase. So we rip out the floor. We end up ripping out this kitchen and moving the sink to the other side of the wall and kind of open up that space. And that turned out to make a huge difference in how the house is laid out. So this is also kind of part of the phase, getting a lot of the everything that we don't want, get ripped out. There were carpets, we ripped all those out. A couple more photos. This might be a repeat. Okay, and then on the outside, right? So this is phase one now. On the outside, we also try to improve it. And then you can see the inside where by this point, the island is taken off. And then all this got opened up. And the interior has been painted. So it's much brighter. It's looks like a fantastic, I guess, canvas to kind of build on top of. Okay, here, this was the kind of the self-built office, where this hole is. And what we're doing is that we change that wall into a window. It was just kind of open end, it just all opened up. We built a window, and then the next step was to kind of rip off that addition. Okay, this is the bathroom area. Bedrooms. Okay, and then the outside, you can kind of see, well, we painted the gate. We also have taken off the addition, okay, and added that window there. And then we're starting to kind of work on the exterior as well. So inside, we're building the cabinets for the kitchen. At first, we were gonna keep the cabinets, and it turns out the cabinets were very old and flimsy, and so it makes more sense based on the price point that we are selling it at to have a higher quality kitchen cabinet. Okay, and then this is kind of the during phase of the bathroom. Okay, and it's kind of starting coming together. Okay, phase 3. We got the exterior painted now, right? The interior, the kitchen is got built. We put an island. Before it was kind of diagonal, which takes up quite a bit of the space. Here we're putting it kind of lines up, so it's more of a open field with the new layout of the island. Okay, and then here we got the countertop put up there. So the design of this space, and it kind of turned out really well. So now this is the kitchen almost built out. All right, and the exterior, it's already done. So, and then here we're putting the shelves on here. So it's looking really nice now, right? The kitchen, the bathroom, and it's very desirable now. Okay, so kind of the next step is that, we financed it. We financed the purchase, decided to keep it. We could wholesale it too. And then either sell or refi. So the ARV is about 500,000 based on the quality of the rehab that we're putting it. Or we can do a 75% loan, right, to kind of pay it back. And now what we're looking at is, selling the house with a smaller acreage and then keeping the rest of the acreage for further development. So that's our case study. Okay, so as recap, we talked about the foreclosure process, right? And how to get and work the pre-foreclosure list. And then we also talk about the marketing stages, right? How do we set up and really start winning these deals? The next question is, how do we get started, right? How do I get started? So here are the 3-step process. Step 1, get a pre-foreclosure list. The more quality and essential research, the better. And that's what the Real Estate IQ off-market leads can offer you, right? We got the freshest data available. It's updated pretty much every day. So you get new leads that you can use every day. There is extensive research, including estimated equity. And then for a limited time only, you can still access this disruptive pricing. And, as we mentioned, it usually costs $200 to $300 a month to have this data for a metro area. And, we're pricing it at a much more affordable price. And so, if you're interested in kind of learning more, you can scan this QR code and request a demo. Next is, if you really want to do it, you gotta, I find it difficult not to have somebody I can call and ask question on, because even every single step of the way, I have so many questions. I don't know how to do something, and I didn't know how to do anything. And so, in the beginning, I had a lot of questions, and over time, I already learned it. I got those questions answered, and then I have, less questions. And I think having having a support system, right, where you can get your questions answered, it's just so crucial. So we have a deal accelerator program. That's why we're offering that for you, and we have a wait list right now. So if you're interested, you can fill out the form and get interview and get qualified for the wait list. And then when we are ready to launch a new cohort, we will we'll connect with you, and then we'll get you going. And then step number 3 is doing title research, right? You gotta know how to do some title research for these properties. And I think what we do is we usually only look at closely at the ones that we're underwriting. Usually I'm not gonna do title research for all the leads, but the folks that have responded and have had a high quality conversation, I would do a title research, and just to make sure I know everything that could go wrong with closing the title, when we're really close to the contract side. Okay, so a lot of success stories, right? I got a success story that I shared earlier too. Jordan has made 2 deals, right? One deal, you can see the variation of profits. The first deal, 55,000. Second deal, 5,000. I would take 5,000. 5,000 is still a good profit. Salvador made $30,000. They got a pipeline of deals now. And then Ismail has created a system that he's consistently getting deals. So he's got a lot of transactions and a lot of deals through Real Estate IQ's leads. So again, this is the QR code that you can scan and fill out this form to talk to one of our data consultants, and learn how you can get started on getting this data. All right, the last thing I really want to invite you to is to join our live stream for deal makers. This is where we showcase real life case studies, right, on the deals that we are working on, in addition to the leads that we are working on too, the hot leads, right? How do we do underwriting? So every week we have a different case study that we will showcase, and it's through kind of looking at these cases that we can start learning how it gets done, right? And obviously where we can really learn how to do it ourselves is by doing it ourselves. So it's kind of through these type of case studies, right? We want to encourage everybody to start kind of acquiring the skill set to do these case studies or to analyze these deals. We also stay on top of the market update, right? So you understand, what's the current market trend, what are the things I gotta do as a real estate investor, and then we talk about wealth building too. So, just a fantastic program that we are bringing out on a weekly basis, so we can all learn together. And that's all I have for this class. Thanks for joining us. If you have further questions, make sure you join our office hours. If you're curious about the office hours, you can scan this QR code, and then it will take you to our website. And then you can, through the events link, you'll be able to see our office hours link. And then you can join us, ask more kind of in-depth questions or case-specific questions. All right, that's all we have. Best of luck, everybody, and happy investing. Thanks for being here.